welcome everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in to the first ever episode here at Blues News Media. I am your host, Lucas Tietzen. Before we get started with our first episode today, I just want to take a quick moment to give a shout out to some people in the audience. First and foremost, I want to thank Jordy Death. She is a great buddy of mine, and she is the host over at Murder Is My Sign podcast. Surely you are familiar with her. If not, why not? You should go give her a listen. She mixes true crime and astrology, does great research, and is just wonderful at what she does. So thank you, Jordy. Without you, I probably wouldn't have gotten this far. Secondly, I want to give a big thank you to my girl, Leah. You have been incredibly patient with all of my research and a wonderful soundboard for this podcast. Without you, this project of mine probably wouldn't be as nearly as good as it hopefully will be. Lastly, I want to thank my good friend Joey B. Without you, man, being a tremendous influence on me, I probably wouldn't have even come up with the idea of this podcast. With all of that out of the way, I don't know about you, I am incredibly excited to get started. So let us begin. Everybody, thank you once again for tuning in to the first ever episode of Blues News Media. I am your host, Lucas Tietzen. So for our first episode, I thought it would serve everyone best if we could just kind of take this time to go over how Blues News Media came about, the kind of a goal of it is, what we hope to achieve here, and what you might be able to expect from us. To start, let me just go over a bit of my background and why I decided to even start this podcast. So, I don't know about you, but ever since I was a child, I have always been quite the worried wart. I was constantly concerned about everything and everyone. I was always checking on and monitoring the health and well-being of my family, friends, plants, and animals. But it didn't stop there. I was also concerned about the entire state of the world, even as a child. And mainly, I was really obsessed with like doomsday prophecies and the end times. Nothing was out of my scope. Growing up and, getting access to the internet, I immediately fell hard and fast into the vast amount of knowledge that is available online. I would consume blogs and documentaries, news articles, and essays. I would be turned on to various different books. Anything that was to be known about the state of the world, I intended to find out. And that's when the real horror show began to unfurl for me. I was shown all of the world's atrocities, past, present, and what was to come. I learned of water wars and mass surveillance, of widespread pollutions and New World Order plots, of war crimes and poisoned food supplies. I was disgusted and enthralled, and I, continue to be to this very day. I would desperately try to convey these things to people. Often I was met with ambivalence or just called outright crazy to my face on many, many occasions. But this never stopped me, never turned me off my studies. I would go home every night and I would feverishly, research, only to try and express my concerns the very next day, being totally unable to do so. This vicious cycle continued for me for many, many, many years, leaving me more frustrated, anxious, and just completely bogged down by a sense of hopelessness. And I mean, I've always cared for the world and everyone on it, but I just couldn't quite express my concerns and convey the urgency about them. I would get all worked up, and admittedly, I continue to get all worked up to this very day, and I have trouble remembering the sources, unfortunately. Eventually, it kind of dawned on me is that what I really needed was a platform of my own so that I might be able to gather all this research that I know is out there, that I've read before, and put it all into one area and then provide my own little analysis of things. And then, hopefully, with this platform, explore some solutions to the many problems that we face today. And that's when I came up with the idea of Blues News Media. And at Blues News Media, I mean, we believe that the world is fucked on all fronts, to put it bluntly. It is entirely depressing to say out loud, but I bet not one of you in the audience is shocked to hear it. We also believe here that the more people that know the details about what is troubling the world makes it a little less scary and a little more manageable. Information is power, and I just believe it is time for us, the people, to take that power back. So we here at Blues News Media, we're going to explore your basic news. We're going to look over documents. We're going to look into people of power. We're going to look into power structures, secret societies, major trends. And through all of this researching and discussion, we'll hopefully be able to pierce that veil of our reality that has been meticulously framed and constructed around us for, in my opinion, the purposes of our control and complacency. As we go on further, I will always have references and my sources included in the show notes, just to let you know I'm not crazy. At least that's what I would have you believe. And hopefully after you hear what I have to say and you do your own reading, not just with what I will link up, but hopefully with your own little research, you'll realize everything that you've told is crazy and wrong, and that everything that you'll be hearing here, hopefully we get it right the first time. If not, always feel free to go over my research, and if there's something wrong, contact me. Right now, we don't have any social medias. If this thing gets big and everybody thinks that maybe we should move into that realm, I will in the future. But for now, if you need to get in contact with me, just email me at bluesnewsmedia@protonmail.com. Please don't be a stranger. I will most definitely get back to you. Let me just lay out what I kind of believe. I believe that there is a small group of people. We say the 1%, but in all actuality, the group is way smaller than that. You could say it's like 0.0001% of the world's population. We're talking about like just a few thousand people probably really control the whole global show. And then among them, they have legions of cohorts, people that are willingly able, would love to just sell you down the river for a quick buck, for the illusion of power. But I think that these people are secretly trying to control the world and enslave humanity. They're doing this through various different ways. Right now, they're trying to build a technological surveillance state. This is, your phone's always listening in on you with your, also among that is your TVs and your computers, and they're using the media to distract and divide you. It's with the whole, two-party system. You're either a Democrat or a Republican. Anything else is just crazy talk. America's so efficient. We nailed it down to two sides, and they're slowly poisoning us through many methods, through the stuff in the water, to the terrible state of food. We are slowly but surely having a prison set up around us and being controlled by a few people. Though that is my opinion, you may find me crazy. That's totally fine. I'm not going to really try and convince you on that right now, at least. But I do hope you are at least open to taking in a new viewpoint, because we're going to be reporting on real news here. We're going to try and cut through the bullshit that is most often put in front of you, whether you're a fan of CNN, MSNBC. All these things are lying and distracting you, keeping you more focused on the show, the spectacle, and never, ever, ever tempting you to look behind the scenes. So hopefully you stick around. But yeah, so that's what Blues News Media is going to strive to do. We want to save the world through the spreading of vital information that is severely lacking right now with our corporate-controlled media. The world, yes, is fucked on all fronts. We're fucked with it. But it doesn't have to be this way. And we can not, and we will not go down without a fight. Humanity is like a middle schooler standing on the precipice of a cliff, with a horde of bad apple kids egging him to jump. We need to be that bold kid in the back of the crowd that steps up, speaks reason, and convinces them to take a step back. We need to be that random act of kindness in an increasingly hostile environment. We need to be that discerning mind in a propagandized world. We need to collectively plant our feet in the ground, stare power in the eye, and firmly say no more. One person alone cannot change this world. I alone cannot change this world. You alone cannot change this world. But with the assembling of this audience, we'll at least have a chance. At least that's what I need to believe in order to not go crazy. But I hope you are excited. I hope this prompts you to listen to our future episodes. But I would say that just about brings us to the end of our first episode. This was really just a way to get the Blues News Media out there, get you excited, whet your appetite, kind of get me familiar with how to do recordings and how I want to present this. So it's going to be a learning experience for all of us in more ways than one. But I do want to thank you all very much for sticking around. I truly hope you enjoyed listening to this, because I really enjoyed putting it together, and I'm excited to see where it leads us, what we're going to learn, and hopefully we might be able to truly accomplish something with it, whatever that may be. Please be sure to share this podcast with literally anyone, everyone, whoever will listen to my voice, so that we can grow this base together. Yeah, be on the lookout for our next episode. I can't wait to dive into the real meat and potatoes of the meaning of this podcast. So thank you once again for listening in. I'm Lucas Tietzen of Blues News Media, and please, if you take one thing away from this podcast, let it be this: ignorance isn't bliss.